Hello folks, thanks for joining the channel again. It's Thursday the 22nd of May, and as it happens today, it happens to be my birthday, and I've reached the ripe old age of 64, would you believe? So I thought I've been thinking for a few weeks actually about trying to get some things finished that have been lying around for ages and sort of unfinished projects. I mean, I've got loads of other kits to build, but rather than starting something new, try and get a few bigger projects finished off. And so I thought I'd tackle this one. Now, anyone who's familiar with my Facebook modelling page, which is like the channel here, Small Scale Futures. If you have a look back through the archive there of the different albums, there's a photo build of this which started unbelievably in 2019, and it's a quite an involved build because it's not just the Moebius kit that I'm using, but I've got the Carl Darby animated video screens in it. It's got the paragraphics, photo etch, and decals, and there's also this item here, which is the turn it around the right way, the remote door slider kit from Richard Steers. So I mean, this is the point I reached in the build last time, and it's like a lot of things. You put it to one side for a few weeks, and then some reason you don't get back around to doing it. So what I thought is I'd do a quick video showing how far I got, and then I'll look at finishing the thing off. And so there may only be a couple of videos for this. The main part of the build has been done, including the interior, but you can always refer back to the album and have a look at the photos to see how it was done, and hopefully try and get this one built, and then I might move on to the Aries. You can see one which way, just behind me there. In fact, it's there, isn't it? But I've got a couple of Aries to build, one with the animated legs and one just the static. So I'll try and get those finished as well. So let's have a look at how far I got with this. So the basic Moebius kit, it's a 1/8 scale pod. And the kit itself is pretty well detailed. I mean, I'll just flick through the instructions here, and it comes with a full interior, and it's built up from all these various panels, and there's a sort of tub where the seat goes, and bit of red overspray on that. I don't know where that came from, but so you can see that the interior goes together, and then you start working on the exterior and the what they call the earmuffs with the little thruster engines in, and then you've got a front and a back. It's got headlights, and then it's got the manipulator arms, and then there's a nice colour guide showing the painting and interior. Now for the screens, they give you decals, and there's a few different aftermarket people do these as well. I mean, the ones that come in the kit are pretty decent, to be fair, but I obviously wanted a more sort of animated version. There's the view of the thing on the back, and the decals are quite comprehensive. There's a lot of sort of stencil detail and stuff like that. So and it builds into quite an impressive kit as it comes. However, I incorporated the paragraphics sets in it. Now the main set that they do is the sort of panels for the inside, and they consist of brass panels that fit over the existing plastic. Now, there was a few complaints about this plastic when Moebius first released the kit, that the buttons weren't molded in clear. However, it is quite translucent, and if you light it properly from behind, and you also use the Paragraphics brass panels to go over the top, which act as a kind of light block, then you do end up with a really realistic looking interior. And there's some guides in this. I mean, you can download these instructions off the Paragraphics website if you're interested in looking into this. You can see these panels fit over, and as I say, go back and have a look at my album in my Small Scale Futures modelling page on Facebook, and you'll see a whole load of photos of me assembling this and putting it together. And this also comes with backlight screens and also its own decals, which is handy. Now, the decals that come with this particular kit is just for some parts. They also do an additional set, which is this one, and I'd say this is essential. If you're going to go to the trouble of lighting the interior, I'd go for this set as well, because this gives you literally every single button in the interior. And you might think, well, that's a bit overkill, why do you need that? But when they're actually put on and it's lit, I mean, the realism is just something else. It is really, really impressive. And it's not as difficult as you might think. You know, there's hundreds and hundreds of these little legends to go on the buttons, but it's all laid out in such a way that you can follow it. And you can see here that it's got all these numbers, and it shows you, and they're done in strips. And I found that you can apply them in strips. You don't have to do them individually. You can apply them in strips. And if you use some decal softener, like I used, what do I use? Microsol. It makes them shrink down onto the surface, and then I literally just painted a line between the buttons in a little tiny bit of black paint to separate the buttons out, and it looks fantastic. So hopefully the camera will pick some of that up in a minute when I show you the interior. I also had the sort of advantage of starting it just around the time that Carl Darby developed some animated screens, and they're LCD screens. They're like little tiny phone screens, and so I got those, and they came with these instructions, and you can see the instructions here. They go. There's quite a lot of work in putting these in. I'm not even sure they're still available, or maybe somebody else is making something similar now. But they're all pre-wired, they're all pre-built, but there's an awful lot of work in installing them, and I think I must have spent a few months putting these in. You can see the instructions go along, and you know, they've got power supplies and everything else. And that was for the screens. There was also a sound effects module, and again the instructions again showing you how to put it together, and it's quite comprehensive again. And again, I'll show you these in a moment. And then the final thing I mentioned, which sort of came along after I'd put the interior together, and I then had to pull some of the interior apart in order to fit this. This hasn't been installed yet. It's been partially built, but then I sort of put it to one side, and then I've never come back to it. So I'm gonna have to sort of have a look at where I was up to with this. This is 3D printed. I think it's printed in nylon, I think, which gives it a strength, you know, over what you'd normally get with the sort of resin parts. And there's various components in here. There's a little remote control. Again, this came with full instructions. I don't have them to hand, but they're there somewhere. And this gets built into the pod and drives the door along a custom-made track, which is this is again is 3D printed, but this is like a direct replacement for the one that's supplied in the kit. And you can then have the door operating and sliding backwards and forwards, which is great. So they're the main sort of instruction side of things. Now, if I show you I'll show you the outside first. And this is kind of as far as I've got. It's going to struggle to fit on the camera, this actually, because it is big. You can see when it's together, it's about the size of a football. These have been painted black on the inside for a bit of light blocking, and I'd not tested them, and I think with black on the inside, they've also had a coat of black on the outside, then a coat of grey primer, then white on top, and I think that probably will be enough. But these coats at the moment are just really trace coats to see where there might be any flaws in the finish. You can see there I've rubbed all this back again because there was some minor sink marks in the moulding there. So that was filled and it's been rubbed back, and again this needs repainting. The HAL eye has been installed, but it's got a little tear off strip there with some Mascol masking that off. All of this has to be painted and detailed and then deckled and everything else. The window has been installed, and this exterior has been painted black and it's been masked off. Now, given the amount of time this has sat here, I'm tempted to basically take all the masking off and remask it, because I can't guarantee that the edge of this is going to be intact now for when I come to put the top coats on. So this all needs, you know, more paint, yet more work. There's a bottom panel, this one, which this is the only part of the thing on screen that you never see, and they've supposed that there's some kind of engine in the bottom to allow it to float through space. So but this fits in the bottom here, somewhere like that, and there's obviously some seam work to do when it's in, and it's quite a bit of work to do on this yet, but you know, I've broken the back of it, so it should start to come together. You can see the back panel there where the door goes, and obviously the door is going to slide in here. Now the door has actually been finished, and I'm just looking for it now. I've just put it somewhere. Here it is. So I've kept it in this plastic bag simply because this has had its complete finish on it, and the decals and everything else, because that has to be done before this can be made to work. You can see the interior. Let me just, in fact, I'll take it out of the bag. Let's just move that out of the way, and you can have a look at that. And there's the interior there. Now, I've seen some people light the door as well, which is great, but I'm not really that bothered about it being lit, because the only time you really notice the lights is when he sets off the explosive bolts to jettison the door, and this starts flashing and stuff like that. So I'm not, it is possible you could put lights inside the door because it's two parts, but I'm not going to do that. But you can see there, you know, the detail there. This does need one last coat of lacquer to sort of tie everything together, but the bulk of it is good to go, really. So that's done. But as I say, it's in this bag just to really protect the finish while it's while I'm working on the rest of the kit. So so they're the sort of main components, and then I've also got these parts here, which are the two, what they call the ear muffs. And again, these have had a light coat of sort of satin white, really. Again, just to show up any flaws in the plastic. It is quite well molded, but there are some minor seams, and you don't really notice them until you paint it, and then you suddenly realise there's a mold line somewhere. So that's all just going to get rubbed back and then repainted. But these can be done. These can be fitted, and they can be left off till the end and then just sort of fixed on. They've got these pins here around the outside edge, and the small, there they are in a bag, the little thrusters, they fit inside these, and obviously you'd probably want to epoxy these in or something, just so they don't pop out over time. There's a bit of work to do on this. These parts here need to be like a aluminium sort of polished metal colour, so they need working on. There's obviously black sections on this as well, so there's those to do. And the rest of the small parts are here as I left them when I stopped working on it. There's the original track for the door out of the kit, which is now replaced by the 3D printed one. I think it still uses the top section. The manipulator arms have been assembled. You can actually buy aftermarket ones of these as well, but I'm sort of happy enough with the kit parts. They've had a fair bit of clean up to them, and there's an awful lot of decals and things got to go on it yet, but they're as they come. These parts here, although there's a bit of white paint on them, they need rubbing back, and then they have a sort of like a polished aluminium colour, because that's where they slide out of the front of the pod. There's also these are the headlights. Now, at the time I stopped working on this, I was experimenting with how I was going to light these, and I settled on I don't know whether you can see that there, right in the centre of that there's a little SMD, and I was trying to get it to look like I want the light to be thrown around the dome, if you like, the reflector. So I was doing a few experiments with it, and I can't remember how far I got, to be honest, so that's something else I'll have to work on as I get back into this. But I was trying to get something like a warm white. I didn't want it so bright that when they're lit it just blinds you and you can't see anything else. This particular one was a light that was built for the top of the interior, which I had to take out because I then realized that it wouldn't fit, and I had to come up with another solution to that, which I did in the end with a kind of lower profile unit. So that unit was just made to light something, but I had to take it out. There's still some decals left. They're the lenses for the headlights, which are just in a bag, just so they don't get scratched. And so a few more bits there to do, and then the final thing I'm going to show you, which is the most complicated part. Let me just lose those. Is this here? I'll bring it over. And there we are. Now, this is the interior. Now, the pod is made with a sort of, it's like a complete kit for the interior, and then the outer shell goes around it. Now, you may not see an awful lot of this because currently it's not lit inside, but if I show you there, you can see all the sort of buttons, and the buttons have been painted. If you look very closely, you can see all those legends on the on each button, and each of those is screen accurate basically, and I will show you them lit in a moment. They don't show up as well on this camera as they do in reality, but you can't really see much in there, can you? So I'll show you that in a moment. Now, as you can see, there's a sort of rat's nest of, let me just move this camera slightly just to get the picture in better there. I think I've knocked the camera at some point there. There's a bit of a rat's nest of wires here, and if you look at it from the outside, you can see that all these panels are backlit, and I had to build lighting boxes for every single panel. And the LEDs that are lighting the buttons are firing sideways into a sort of lit box so that the light doesn't strike straight through. You don't get any sort of hot spots on the buttons. And turning it round, you can see these modules here. These are all part of the Carl Derby sets. There's a video module there, and everything's all plugged in from the back there. And you take it round the front, there's another video module. Sorry, that's the power module there. And these are screens here. These are the front screens that you see on the kind of like the dashboard of the ship. There's another screen here. And as it goes round, these are all light boxes again. The top sections here are light boxes. And this center section here is a light box, and you can see the amount of LEDs that are in it. I don't think I've counted actually how many LEDs are in it, but there's an awful lot. Now if I turn it upside down, this part you can see that I've scraped away here. That's where the sound module was, and I had it all fitted, and then all of a sudden the door module became available, and I thought, oh right, well I'll have to have that now. So I've had to modify this and take the sound module out temporarily, and I've had to cut some sections away here. And this part you can see here is actually a 3D printed part that replaces the original kit part, and it's been bolted on there, and there's various other bits and bobs going on there. So it's quite a complicated setup, as you can see when you look at all the wiring. And I mean, I've stuck with red and black, so you know, I know which is positive, which is negative. And all these wires here are labelled. Now I've got a brand new 9-volt battery. This will eventually run off a 9-volt supply, but it'll be plugged into the mains. And I've seen a thing on Amazon which is, it's like a multi-charger for guitar pedals, and it'll do 9 volts because a lot of guitar effects pedals run off 9-volt batteries. So it's got a sort of multiple outputs. So I'm going to get hold of one of those, and you can plug it into the mains, and then I can wire all these into. This is going to be on a base that will be then plugged into the mains. So I'm not sure which ones of these are, but I'll try them out now. You can see, if I might be easier if I turn the light off here. So now I've just got the desk lamp on, and if I knock the desk lamp off, it might go a little bit dark, but at least you'll be able to see this. So you can see there's obviously light leaks from this, which some of this is just going to have black electrical tape stuck over it before the outer shell goes on. And if I turn it this way, you can see now not all the buttons are lit because some of them run off a different circuit, but you can see they're actually quite bright to the eye, but they don't look very, they either look over bright or not bright enough on the video camera. But you can see all the sort of interior lights there, and again they look a bit washed out there, but the colours are quite solid to the eye. I don't know whether I can show you the roof section there, and that's got the red lights in the roof as well. So to the eye it looks quite impressive. If you bear with me a moment, I will switch the battery to another supply here, and I'm not sure, this might be one of the video screens. Yes, it is. Now, I don't know whether these may wash out on this. In fact, they are washing out, which is a shame, really, because they're absolutely pin sharp in reality, and they basically have lots of the original graphics from the movie showing on them. Let me just see if I can try that again. Let's try that again. It's all a bit dark, this, isn't it? I don't think you're going to be able to see those because they just wash out basically, but in reality you've got all those screens, you know, the ones with the 3 letters, you know, MEM and NUC and stuff like that. They're all on the screen. I'll play about with the camera, and further down the line I'll see if I can show that off. Let me just pop the light back on. And one thing I can do is demonstrate the sound module. So when the sound module comes on, it's on a separate supply.
Pod 3 VA. Pod 3 VA.
There you go. I'm shorting out then.
Made radio contact with him yet?
The radio is still dead.
Do you have a positive track on him?
Yes, I have a good track.
Do you know what happened?
I'm sorry, Dave. I don't have enough information.
Open the pod door, Hal.
So this is the scene where Frank's just been attacked by Hal, and Dave goes out without his helmet to try and grab him. And there's the I suppose like a transponder, and it goes on. I think the other end of this.
Main doors, Hal.
There you go.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
So it does sound fantastic when it's in the pod itself. So there's a fair bit of work to do with this now, because I'm going to have to sort of work my way backwards through it and see how far I got with various bits and what bits need work. Obviously the door needs work on it, and but hopefully that might focus a little bit better if I pull that around, because I haven't got the main light on at the moment. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Hopefully I can get it back on track in a couple of sessions, and then start to sort of put the thing together. This does need a bit of a clean, to be honest. It's been wrapped in plastic, but over the time it's been sat there, which is a few years, all the sort of dust's got in, you know, and it just needs brushing off a little bit. And I'll have to just check all of the wiring still sound. Most of it should be, because everything's tied off with all these cable ties everywhere. And like any model that I build with lighting in, it's literally this constant game of test, retest, test again. You know, I never build anything in without, you know, checking it at least a dozen times before I seal something in. There's nothing worse than putting something together and then realizing that one of the lights doesn't work. So yeah, so I'll take a look at this over the next couple of days, and then once I get it to a point where I'm starting to make a bit of progress, I'll put another video up, and it's probably going to be of this getting encased in the the outer skin, and I'll try and get the lights wired up for the headlights, and then you know, again, there's going to be a challenge there, because all the feeds are going to have to be fed through this and underneath. I've currently got the plan to run all the cables through this hole in the bottom of this. This hole wasn't here in the kit, it's just like a panel, but I've cut it out simply because I need somewhere for it to go So the cable's going to come through this hole and then into the stand, and I might have some separate switches so I can switch things on and off, so I can put the lights on and off, switch the sound on and off, and obviously there'll be the little remote for the door. So I hope that's been useful if anyone's thinking of doing this kit. I mean, you might not want to go to this extent, but it's certainly worth having a go at lighting, and it'll make a nice sort of addition to my 2001 collection. I've currently got the big Orion and the space station built and finished. I've also got the Moebius diorama, and I've got one of the I think it's Atomic City astronauts on the base with the monolith. I've got some small scale 3D prints of the Clavius astronauts, which I'm going to build into a little diorama of them having the photo taken. And I've printed a 3D figure of Dave Bowman, where he's sort of floating with the AE-35 unit, like he's on his way back to the pod. I've seen a few people build a figure into this. Originally, I think Moebius were going to release a figure for this, and then it hasn't happened. And you can get a 3D printed version, but I think it'd spoil it a little bit because it's limited to what you can see through the door, and I think it'd obscure some of the details. So I'm going to leave it without the pilot, and just so you can sort of open the door and look through, and you can see all the lights working and the sound on and everything. So yeah, so I'll be back on at some point with an update of this. There may be some other videos coming through in the next few days of various other projects that I'm working on. And so if you enjoyed this, then hit the like button. You can also subscribe if you're interested, and it just helps the channel, sort of raise its profile a little bit. And I'll see you soon. So thanks for watching.